What do you think of a world in which others are accepted, their faults are tolerated, and their mistakes are forgiven? Bonbon world, right? Well, not exactly. It is quite the opposite. It is scary how we live in a time when if you see a harasser, a criminal, or an obscene, filthy person, and you say something like, "Oh, this is a harasser," or a criminal, or an obscene, filthy man, others rain down insults on you, saying, "Don't judge him." Yeah, we all want to live on this bonbon planet. It's a dream come true, but isn't it a little bit too much? Oh, I'm sorry if I'm being judgmental here. Why is it so today that all judgments are negative? We no longer have the right to point our finger at a person to show his true colors. I'm not talking here about judging others for the sake of gossip or to make ridiculous social comparison in order to boost the ego. I'm talking about judgments about what is right and wrong, what is permissible and what is forbidden, what is supposed to be and what is not, whether a person is good or bad, and other matters between which the line was very clear, but it seemed to fade away. People are hiding now behind phrases like, "Don't judge me." How can we tolerate serious mistakes, crime, and harassment and say something so unbelievable like, "Don't judge him"? Seriously? I don't think that we live in a bonbon world, not yet at least, and I think it's not because you don't want to actually judge him, as you have already prejudged him. It's kinda impossible to not judge someone once you see or hear about him, but because today we all have become somehow diplomatic and deceitful people. Based on this principle, we must be foolish and gullible. We act as if we didn't get the insult because we don't want to respond to it, because it will become a bigger problem. We act as if we have no feelings, no judgments. We no longer know what is right and what is wrong. We only adopt what everyone wants, what everyone thinks. The position we can adopt is the one that will cost us nothing, like dipping French fries in sauce or sprinkle the sauce directly on the French fries. Today, somehow, everybody has become wise, understanding, tolerant, accepting, and vulnerable. Despite the solid but false structure that appears, in the end, all of this was only to support our self-image. When we are alone with ourselves, we find that we are not even a fragile or vulnerable human being, but rather completely empty, incapable of anger, hatred, and disgust, and therefore incapable of love. It was said that loving something is not possible without hating its opposite. A person is only as sincere in his love as he is sincere in his hatred. We who claim love, tolerance, and acceptance, we no longer have an opposite to hate. Therefore, we have nothing to love, a reason to fight for, and a principle to defend. From a young age, we are taught right from wrong. And we know that if someone makes a mistake, we must alert him to this mistake and help him change and improve himself, even if only by talking to him or praying for him. Anything to stop this deterioration. But how many people do that today in your class, for example, in your work, in your group of friends? We have begun to adopt a motto that says, "It has nothing to do with me. It's not my business. It's not mine, it's not yours, it's not theirs, it's not ours. So who the heck business is it if it affects the whole community?" The idea is not primarily to change it for the sake of change it, but change it in order to prevent it from changing us. Get it? Because if you don't change reality, it changes you. And as long as there is no longer permissible, forbidden, wrong, right, and we began to accept everything, This means that reality changed us a long time ago already because we were too fragile to change it. It is true that we reject mistaken, hasty, preconceived judgments, but we are moral beings. We know good and evil and distinguish right from wrong. It is kinda impossible not to judge someone once they act. It is very natural for our minds to make judgments to protect us and our opinions, our principles, and our morals. A professor of psychology at the University of Washington, Marsha Linehan, describes in her book, Dialectical Behavior Therapy Skills Training Manual, there are two types of judgments. The judgment that discriminates, like describing the reality of things, long, short, fat, and legal or illegal, and the judgment that evaluates. It is what adds our personal moral judgment to actions or our subjective vision of things, such as describing something as bad or good, moral or immoral. Today, we have a mentality of no judgment, a mentality of absolute tolerance and sanctification of accepting others, and try to not link their action to any morals. It's not good anymore, it's not bad, it's not moral or immoral, it's just personal freedom. Today, we have to forget about it is supposed to be like this. How people are supposed to be anyway. Why are we all supposed to be normal? What's wrong with some craziness, with some idiocy and naivety, some harassment, insult, theft, and dirty language? In the end, I'm not a bad person. I'm just a free man and I have my own circumstances, so don't judge me. The new mentality is it's not our job to define what any person or even the whole world is supposed to be like. Accept him as he is, a traitor, a liar, a thief, a filthy person, a foul-mouthed person, and a murderer. Accept him as he is. Don't judge him. This idea of accepting has been reinforced with exaggerated blindness, thinking that through this we will accept ourselves, or even better, the world will accept us for who we are. But absurdly, we go out into the world and find some negative comments, criticism, and sarcasm, and whoop, what happens? I accepted everyone. I didn't hate anyone. I forgave those who made mistakes. I thought everyone would accept me. And now what? We suffer from excessive sensitivity towards accepting the fact that we are being judged. So we begin to hide ourselves so that no one could see us, no one would judge us. We narrow our relationships to become just a small group of friends who don't insult us by telling us that we made a mistake and that we shouldn't do this or that. We live in that safe zone and are afraid to leave it, not realizing that it's not safe at all because it's overly sensitive to judgments and criticism, even constructive criticism and honest advice, because they are not allowed here. The concept of support has changed from trying to correct our mistakes and helping someone to become the best version of himself to smiling in face of everything he does and applauding him without trying to tell him that he is making a bad mistake in whatever he is doing. Let's admit it here, for God's sake. We are a completely immature generation that is not accepting and intolerant at all. Despite what we claim, we don't tolerate those who thinks we make mistakes and we have flaws. We all make mistakes. We aren't perfect. We know that. We need someone to guide us and tell us what we have done wrong. I know it's painful to admit that you made a mistake, but it's just as important. It is what makes us better people. I think stripping a person of judgment means stripping yourself of the possibility of becoming a better person. Rick Henrik, professor of psychology at James Madison University, criticizes this idea of acceptance absolute tolerance and non-judgment of others. He believes that this mentality does more harm than good. If we adopt this philosophy of non-judgment, we will lose our moral compass, our opinions, our personalities, our principles, and all things will become equal. We will live in a neutral world that doesn't care about anything. What do you think? What do you prefer? A world in which you can distinguish between right and wrong? Or a world in which the other is accepted and tolerated despite his faults, mistakes, and crimes?